Um, Good evening, ladies and gents. Hopefully everything is working. Hope you can hear me. All that sort of good stuff. Yeah, everything's telling me it's fine. So let me know in the chat whether or not you can hear me. Um, do you know what? It feels like it's been a little while since I've done this. Probably because it has been. Took a week off last week to get some stuff done and just kind of recover. But it seems to be all good. Good evening to you, Mark Excellent, Socially, to Del Kenobi, to Smitty, Viper Leo, Ray Louderbeck, Blausmith, Panzer Punisher, Space Saga, to Zaveth, Furious Ninja, Wiggy1, and everyone else. Welcome in. Hopefully, the audio's not too disrupted by the massive fan I have just here off the side. Hopefully, it's okay. Calco, welcome in. Good to see you, buddy. Few things to talk about. I was kind of worried going halfway through this week. I was like, oh god, it's just going to be another Badgers whinging about Star Citizen stream. But we actually have some news to talk about. And it's not just the whole invite to Squadron 42 playthrough stuff, which I didn't get. CIG, I'm sure it's just lost in the post. Pause for dramatic effect. 4.5 out of 5 on audio. Well, I mean, that's not too bad. Hopefully it's not too disruptive. If needs be, I can always knock an extra audio protection thing on. Oh, there is a bit, isn't there? Give me a second. So there we go. Let's see if that stops it. Pretty much. Hopefully that's okay. Hopefully that's all right. So yeah, a few things have happened since we last talked. 4.8.3 has gone live as a first one. It's hit or miss, yeah, absolutely. There we go, a little bit better. Good, I'm pleased. They sent it via Royal Mail. Well, that's why I've not got it. Okay, before we go any further, my mouth's already drying out, and there's only one way to sort that. None of this non-alcoholic nonsense. It's going to be a stealth repress for this call sign. So cheers, happy Sunday all. Hope you're surviving the heat for those of us in Europe. Hope you had a good 4th of July for those of us across the pond. And for everything else, whatever else you're celebrating, or not as the case may be, cheers. Oh, that's going to go down a little too well tonight, I think. Okay, so 4.8.3 is live, and there's some stuff happening. So it's probably a good time to talk a little bit about some of that stuff. So let me jump across. So 4.8.3 brings with it the return of Xenothreat. This is the in-game event at the moment. For those that aren't playing, just thought I'd let you know. We have a whole bunch of Xenothreat ships causing absolute mayhem within the verse, with missions varying in difficulty and sort of payment, all the way up to a massive 4 million credit mission. Shared, obviously, amongst those that partake in it. So, yeah, it's kind of a little bit busy at the moment. We have they're attacking anyone in alien-made ships. This is the lore behind it. They are engaging, they are basically trying to stop people engaging in any sort of trade with the aliens, any support of the aliens, as you'd expect with a name like Xenothreat. So, we can hunt them down, we can go rescue ships, we can go and find hammerheads out there to kill, we can find Idrises out there to kill. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on in the game at the minute. One of the missions for like the hammerhead, you draw out a couple of waves before they attack you. And we had a go at this with the social games that we play, the community games that we play on a Friday night. And the missions would be fun if it wasn't for the fact that right now the server desync is crazy, at least on the servers that we played. Ships just jumping around, so you'd be bang on target, and all of a sudden, even though you were still on target, your shots wouldn't be registering hits anymore. And then, unfortunately, the ship would just blip away to somewhere else, and it's like, right, that's why I'm not registering hits. And basically, you'd then go find it, you'd start getting shots on target, then your shots wouldn't register, and so on and so forth. So it's a little bit frustrating right now. It's desync that we've all been experiencing. It seemed to be dialed up to 11 on Friday. It might have just been the server that we're on, but I understand a lot of people are experiencing this. Yeah, as Del Kenobi says, desync jank is kind of hard to deal with at times. It really is, and I struggle with it. It was just frustrating. At times, I've had more fun slamming my fingers in a door. So yeah, there's that. Not my favourite thing to do at the minute in the verse, but there we go. There are, however, unique rewards in the form of blueprints. Now, they are using what is being called at the moment the unique Purgatory camo. And then there are also ship components and weapons. So starting at the bottom, there's a Chiron armor set Purgatory and a BR2, then Tetsudo, S71, Monday armored set, which is the Demeco, Quadracell, and then the Quadracell MT, which is going up to ship components, FR66 and 76 at 85%, and NDBs at 100. So, interesting. And they said that this isn't the only time to earn them, so if the desync is that bad for you guys, like, you can skip it, right? This stuff's coming back in the future. I'm sure there will be a lot of people out there who are going to be wanting to, kind of craft the armor as quickly as possible, and that's cool, but there's not much there. I've heard that the rewards aren't permanent. Very possibly, what we'll do very quickly is we'll just have a look on Spectrum and see what it says. I'm sure it'll have something about the Xeno Threat event in there, potentially. Maybe? No? Maybe in general. Maybe in general. Not that either. Oh well. I'm sure someone will know where that is anyway. So that's no problem at all. So yeah, 4.8.3 has come out. It would be great if Xeno Threat would attack us if we used our own alien ships socially. Yeah, absolutely. That would be cool. I just don't think the engine's there to support it yet. But yes, that would be kind of cool. So you're confused, kind of boring. These feel a lot like normal missions. That they are. For no doubt. It's unfortunate. It's not the most exciting thing, I think, that people have kind of encountered. I know people are hoping for more from the mission design, and rightly so. More on that in a bit, because CIG have given some interesting updates regarding everything else, and hopefully that will alleviate people's concerns a little bit. Or at least, give us some hope so that CIG can break it. Very, very possible. Hey Al, sure, welcome in. Less mission design and more event design. Yeah, there's that. It feels like, and I'm not entirely sure that this is the case, but it feels like they have reached the limit of what is possible with the current mission system tools. There isn't much more there, and actually it feels a little bit like we've gone backwards from missions like PI Wanted and stuff. So yeah, it is underwhelming. I mean, you look at how much fun things like ASD can be, and all that other stuff that, like the Vandal Tech missions. Yes, they're more of the same. Go here, press this, find this, kill this dude, all that sort of stuff. But at least the setting was enough to make it interesting and replayable. Whereas this, I don't know, it still feels like, with the exception of tactical strike groups, it still feels like the space mission stuff. Although there are some cool kind of bits of scenery around it now, a lot of the fights are happening around the remote asteroid bases and all that sort of stuff. The mining stations, they're just kind of set dressing. It's a backdrop for a mission rather than something that's actively involved in it. And again, I think that comes down to the mission system as it stands. They need mission system second implementation or whatever it is, or be whatever number we're up to now. And then hopefully we'll start getting some better stuff. Will you want to? CIG says the rewards are permanent until they aren't, which basically means they're not permanent. Oh, okay. That. We can only hope server meshing will unlock more server potential. Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of potential open up just with the optimization and getting things smoothed in and integrated better. Again, more on that in a little bit. They're not account bound, and that's a great decision by CIG, says Widget. CIG are finally putting the longevity of the game over player concurrency stats. Interesting. Yeah, that's one way to look at it. But those are the unique rewards. And of course, with that, it comes up where they then bring up a couple of war bonds. So we've got the Perseus, the Eclipse, and the Hornet Mark II, along with a bunch of other ships for sale. Now, it's really kind of weird that, for whatever reason, the pictures weren't loaded. I've tried a bunch of times, but I guess we'll just go through these, and I guess we just kind of guess at what these are. Why not? But there you go. So yeah, there's a couple of ships. Unsurprisingly, there are ships for sale during an event. Shocker. Nobody saw that coming, right? Pics don't load for me too. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I thought it might have been the scale. I zoomed in, I zoomed out, refreshed the page. I did cache all that sort of stuff, and it's still being silly. But there you go. That's Xenothreat. That's what 4.8.3 is. I'd be really interested to know from you guys. Luckily, the shop is never affected by the state of the game, says Panzer. Never a truer word spoken, mate. Never a truer word spoken. You would imagine that if the shop behaved like the game in terms of bugs and everything, they'd fix it toot sweet. I'm liking that phrase at the moment, toot sweet. But there we go. Having played the game a little bit again in 4.8.3, it's still not there, clearly. There are still a lot of issues, there are a lot of problems with it, and this is going to surprise precisely no one. The Tech Talk thing that we watched a little bit of kind of alluded to the fact that things are coming out too fast. They're trying to squeeze too much in. The patch dates, especially ones tied to dates like IE or DefenseCon, as is what just happened, it's not good. It's rough, and there really isn't much more you can say to it. It skipped Evocati. It flew through the PTU stuff, not because it was actually achieving what it needed to at each stage, but because they needed it out for DefenseCon. And now we're paying the price. I've resigned from waiting at 1.0.1. Oddly specific there, Wiggy, but I see what you've done there. Yeah, so that's where we are. However, there is some news on the horizon, and this is hence the thumbnail of this stream, at Progress or Not. At the moment, it feels like we've slid backwards, because we have. That's exactly what's happened with the game. It's not fun for a lot of people. It's causing issues. So, we have the roadmap roundup, and I'm going to read some of this stuff out because this is really quite important. Okay, so the roadmap roundup came out earlier on in the week. All right. And there's a lot of text in here. I'm going to read this out so I don't get it wrong. We'd like to share an update on the upcoming Alpha 4.9 release, as well as our ongoing initiative to address many of the common bugs and issues that both new and veteran players encounter on a regular basis. As mentioned during a recent Star Citizen Live, we've reassessed our bug prioritization process following the release of Alpha 4.8. As part of that effort, we've refined how we prioritize bugs, with increased involvement from senior leadership alongside our development, QA, player experience, community, and other supporting teams, to help ensure we're focusing on the issues that will make the biggest impact. We're hopeful this approach means you'll feel the difference. More issues fixed and your gameplay sessions are noticeably improving. Based on reports from the Issue Council, Spectrum, Reddit, direct player feedback, and other sources, we have identified nearly 100 issues that are significantly impacting core gameplay systems and quality of life, covering areas including... Right, this is a broad brush thing. They're not naming specific issues. They're saying they fall into these areas. Instant hangars, ATC, and ship retrieval. Freight elevators, quantum travel and star map routing. Inventory, UI, and interaction. Ships being falsely marked as lost or destroyed. Docking. Ship and FPS AI, login flow, and exploits. And then they say, in addition, we're tracking a broader list of quality of life improvements, and blah, blah, blah. They basically said that they fixed a bunch of stuff. Remember with transit, we fixed that. Freight elevators are a problem. They've deployed 70 to 80 fixes, but they're just kind of putting plasters. They're not addressing the underlying issues. So, here's the interesting thing here. So far, we've resolved roughly 20% of the issues on our current priority list. We don't expect to complete every fix in time for Alpha 4.9, but we're confident this more methodical, root cause driven approach is the right path forward for systems of Star Citizens at scale and complexity. That was sexy. Naturally, an initiative with this, or like this, comes with trade-offs. And here's the big one. For those of us that were waiting for Siege of Origin, brace yourselves, I have some bad news. With that in mind, we're moving Siege of Origin and all instance-related content out of Alpha 4.9 and into a new 4.10 scheduled for mid-August. So this is interesting. Let's just pause there for a second, right? July is the next patch, meaning September, because they are every 2 months now, would be 4.10. So yes, it's a delay, but it's actually coming in its own mid-patch, because July into August, that's a 1 month gap. These additional 4 weeks, 1 month gap, will allow us to continue hardening features and technology and related deliverables planned for that content. Instancing in particular introduces a significant number of new systems, back-end services, and gameplay mechanics that require additional validation before we're comfortable bringing them to life. Based on the recent tech preview builds, we believe more work is still needed, so at least tech preview's doing its job, getting people in, getting them to test, and figuring out what's wrong. With these changes, Alpha 4.9 in mid-July will still deliver a variety of reprioritized bug fixes, optimizations, quality of life improvements, and new content we're excited to get into your hands as quickly as possible, reflective of how this new initiative continues beyond this month's release into 4.1 in August and 4.11 in September. So there you are, July, August, September, 1 patch per month. Okay. So there's it. So what are we getting in 4.9 then? Support the Miners mission pack, implementing a new set of repeatable missions from Recco Battaglia, an independent mining logistics coordinator based in Levski. Take on a variety of contracts including prospecting, mining, recovery, salvage, investigations, ship reclamation, and more. Okay, and then there's a reputation with her specifically. Combat clothing, so that's kind of cool. Hairstyles, yeah, when aren't there new hairstyles? Implemented dedicated storage for frames for missiles, torpedoes, and bombs, so you can place them on your cargo grids, and they'll be easier to handle, apparently. The bullpup rifle has also been committed, as have ship combat UI improvements, juvenile and adult Valakar behavioural updates, and ship flyby audio, which is an interesting one. Implementing an overhauled ship flyby audio system, reintroducing flyby sounds with all new audio assets to deliver greater immersion and improved positional feedback during flight. Very cool, but there we go. Pete, good evening, buddy. Good to see you. Marcus, welcome in. So there we go, yeah. Fixing the underlying issues instead of seemingly largely just the symptoms is a bit odd. They are now realising this is the best path forward. Yeah. Wiggy says, I think CIG need to slow down patch releases, to be honest. Recent patches seem to have been half-baked and not properly QA tested. The old patch schedule seems to be more stable. Year of Stability version, yeah, the Tier 2, yeah. So yeah, it's a bit of an interesting one, this. Because last year we had a patch every month, and we got more stability than this. So it's a bit of an interesting one. So coming into 4.1 then, or sorry, 4.10, 4.10, whatever you want to call it. This is now set to come in August. Siege of Origin instancing, okay, all tentative at the moment, okay, but this will be hopefully Siege of Origin, hopefully a little bit more effective than it was before. Mission giver, Recco Battaglia, okay, so although her missions start back in 4.9, she's going to be an in-person mission giver. So the return of going up to the mission givers and interacting with them in person, just like we did with Twitch, Pacheco, and everyone all the way back in the day. Bringing her first narrative mission series to life. Remember when I said, let's just put a pin in the mission system? This. Now, that doesn't mean to say these missions are going to be well designed. It might just be, missions that we're already used to, now repurposed and given some sort of voiceover stuff to fit into a narrative. But I am looking forward to, again, going back to things like the narrative stories that we had before. So, like things like the Arlington Gang back when you used to kind of introduce or interact. Sorry, person. So there we go. The super heavy combat armor will be coming, as will the Vendetta HMG, which attached to it. New Wicklow ships offerings, ship loadout improvements, and this one probably is worth reading out. Implementing item recovery ship loadout improvements. Updating ship and item recovery to better support custom loadouts through timed claims, optional expedite fees, freight elevator item claims, and debuting a free recovery option when losses are detected as outside of the player's control. Don't know how that's going to work, but that's an interesting thing to put up there. The updated armor sets, which we had a look at last stream, which are kind of really good looking actually. They're very cyberpunky, they're very kind of triad looking, but they're pretty cool. And then, much awaited, and I know this will really cheer some people up, the fuel tanks and consumption. Right now, as of the last patch, they made some very, very questionable fuel tank changes. So you've got big ships now with very limited range. Fighters, funnily enough, seem to be able to travel forever once again, or at least certain ones do. So yes, that's well needed and long awaited, I think, being able to rebalance that. And hopefully some of that, the whole consumption thing as well, will contribute a little bit to refueling be a bit more of a viable kind of viable profession, gameplay loop thing, whatever you want to call it. But that. So that's that. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see. It's a shame. I was really looking forward to getting back to Siege of Orison. For those that don't know, Siege of Orison has been one of my favourite events in the game. It was great to go with the Org. We went in big groups. We had different roles. We had people taking kind of sniper overwatch on the top of buildings and all that sort of stuff. It was really, really good. It's really good fun. And being able to do that in an instance where you're not racing against the people who take all of the ships, try to fly all the way to the end, get blown up because all the air defences are still active, and muck it up for everyone else because now there's no way of jumping between platforms, that's going away. As long as you're able to kind of semi-coordinate the people that you're on a platform with, looking forward to giving Siege of Orison a go again, and that's going to be good fun. Yeah, and hopefully that works well, because hot on the heels of Siege of Orison is going to be what was the Municipal Works, now Municipal Works Levski, which will also be very interesting, because that's not just an instance, it's an instance that progresses between, you go in and you achieve stuff, it changes the state of the instance when you go back in again. So that'll be an interesting one to have a look at as well, and I'm quite interested in what they do there. Your SF is almost ready. Sorry, Wiggy. Oh, you're going to have to help me on that one, bud. But yeah, there we go. And that's that. So, again, big news that they are punting stuff out of 4.9 to try and bring back some of the stability that we've absolutely struggled with. And this, I think this is quite telling, right? They say, despite 70 to 80 fixes since last summer, players still don't feel the system is as stable or reliable as it should be. That's an understatement. Much of that work addressed individual symptoms rather than the underlying causes. Freight elevators interact with many other gameplay systems, creating a large surface area for issues, but as a core gameplay feature, they need to be dependable at all times. That. So there we go. With any luck, this will bring back a little bit more stability. They kind of need to. With Squadron 42, whenever that is going to launch, edging inevitably closer anyway, just because it doesn't happen this year doesn't mean we're not getting closer to it. That's going to bring with it an influx of players who are going to need to come across, and if we want to keep them, see a lot more stability than we have at the moment. We have all these workarounds, and they kind of said it in the tech talk, right? We've got all these walkarounds that we have. We've got all these walkarounds that are useful and things that we know because we've been playing the game forever. They don't. And whilst we are still in alpha, it would be nice to need far fewer workarounds right now. That's just not the case. I'm still seeing screenshots. We had one, I think it might have been Blam. Blam, you had the falling through the distribution center earlier on today or this weekend, didn't you? Which is incredibly frustrating. But yeah, so stuff, right? Again, we feel like we're getting some sort of progress, or we did last year, because things got consistently better. This has gone backwards, and people are understandably frustrated with it. I'm just hoping they can fix it, because right now I don't want to play the game. I'd rather do other stuff, and that's not a fun thing for someone who's decided to do this with you guys and content create around it. But it's just not fun at the moment for me. And the problem is you know, all right, I'll have a whinge about stuff. I'll whinge about things with the best of them, right? I will have a proper whinge, but not every day, not all the time. I got bigger things to go on with. The good news is, just so we got movement on the house, boys. Looks like that's going to happen, and in the next kind of 30 days, with any luck, I'll have a completion, and that'll be it. I will be a homeowner, which will be very exciting. Of course, UK renter protection laws came in just soon enough that I'm going to have to spend a month and a half paying both rent and mortgage, so that's going to be fun. But hey, I'm not looking a gift horse in the mouth. I'll be moving into new premises. I'll have more space to do this. I'll finally have the time to go and see a very kind community member who's going to help me out with it's going to be the game PC. This is going to become the stream PC. So we'll actually be able to do some gameplay, which is going to be exciting. Obviously, there'll be a bit of disruption while I change over and get, you know, kind of my utilities and internet and everything down there set up. But other than that, that's quite exciting. So yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate it. That's kind of cool. Yeah. So that's going to be exciting. Again, a little bit of disruption to this, but then again, it's not like I'm posting videos regularly anyway. So there we are. But cheers. Good news about the house. Have you picked out a suitable gaming cave in your new house, Asri? I have, mate. The largest room in the house, except for the front room. So, the back bedroom is going to be where I sleep. There's more than enough space in there, double bed, wardrobe, the whole shebang, right? Going to be nice and comfortable in there. The front bedroom is going to have space for not only my gaming table, or my setup here with lights and a little bit more professional, so I can get around the back of it, and it's not like it is at the moment where I've got lights just sat down here doing naff all. I'm also going to have my army display cases for Warhammer and Bolt Action in there. I'm hopefully going to have a 6x4 gaming table in there. I'm going to have my library in there. I've got I say a library, it's a collection of Warhammer books and limited editions and all that sort of stuff. Going to make it out. Going to have some display montage walls, which are going to be really cool. And I will show you, as soon as I'm able to, I will show you guys that. But yes, it's going to be called the Man Cave at the moment. And, let's just say it might not be called the Man Cave for very long. It might have to be called the Hobby Cave after a while. Teaser. Not saying any more on it, just so you guys know good things are happening. So yeah, there we go. with a spot in the corner for a life-size R2-D2. Mate, don't call yourself R2-D2, but you know you're always welcome. So, you know, if you want to come over, that's fine. Should not be called the Badger Cave. Yeah, the Badger Warren or something like that. Yeah, absolutely. Now, that's why I'm going to rename the house. You can actually just give your house a name and then apply and pay a little fee, and that becomes your address. So it'll be the Badger Cave or the Badger Warren. Let's do that. So that's it. Teapot, that's exactly it, mate. That's what's happening. So I've been growing the boobs for a while. Hopefully you've noticed. But there we go. And then yes, so at the moment I'm just planning a nice like glass fronted fridge upstairs with drinks in it, and maybe like on top I'll have a couple of glasses, some bottles of spirits and stuff like that. But later on we'll figure it out. So yeah, Badger live in sets. Good point. The Beaver Cave. Oh, good lord. Right, you lot, honestly, I give you one piece of information, look what happens. You just pack it in, the lot of you. Honestly, incorrigible. Incorrigible, the lot of you. Spicy, welcome in. Good to see you, bud. But yeah. Oh, good lord. This is why we can't have nice things, fellas. So there we go. There we go. Not quite wife. Not quite wife, Calco. Not yet. No, I did that once. If insanity is doing the same thing multiple times and expecting a different outcome, that would be... There we go. So, yeah. Okay. So, coming then to... They had the progress report out, and I've not had a chance to read this. So you're going to have to kind of bear with me whilst I scream through it. Wiki. Honestly, you lot, pack it in. What are you trying to say, Pans? Are you trying to say I couldn't? But there we go. So, yes, there's that. Wow. Right, anyway, so I'm reading through this. So, this might be one of the reasons the Super Heavy guys have not, or the Super Heavy Army and Weapon hasn't come out. It says, AI features and tech fix an issue with super heavy NPCs not being able to use the miniguns. Some human AI issues were fixed too, including NPCs continuing to fire at targets that they could not see. I think we've all experienced that. They've also, for the Apex Valakar, they've introduced the ability to constrain it to an area while avoiding another. It also received laser and EMP attacks, gained the ability to switch between attacks, and improvements were made to surface sound detection. For the Yamandi, a bug causing it to get stuck in reactions was fixed. So there we go. Apex Valakar, the area one. They had it so close, and I don't know what it is. They've just been fixing it and fixing it and fixing it, and it's that. But there we go. Although not integrated into the PU, improvements were made to the flight AI behaviour for fleeing behind objects and counter-chasing behaviours, and updates were made to the general flight behaviour. So they've got some stuff going on, but it's not in the PU yet, so we won't see it. This is quite interesting. So, more animations for the Apex Valakar, whilst, quote-unquote, planning for the next round of creatures. Hopefully we'll get some stuff. The Boreal Stalker, I want to see that in. I want to get chased round Microtech by this incredibly kind of scary thing. That would be quite good fun. And then we've got, well, they said on a new armour set, mission rewards. We can only assume that that's the heavy armour stuff, but it might be something else. Updates to the Ninetales gang and other upcoming items. Support for the Starware initiative continued too. Alongside this, the concept art team progressed with a new combat armour. So, lots of wearable shiny stuff, not just clothes, but or not just armour, sorry, but the combat clothing as well, which would be kind of cool. And this... there we go. The NPC used the miniguns on me. I couldn't run fast enough to get away from the spray of bullets, says Furious Ninja. Scary, huh? Yeah. I'm interested as to how it's going to look. But here we go. Right. Raylan and Tilui were released. So there you go. And there's another grey market ship coming. Surprise. Liberator is still going. RSI Galaxy, which is going to be, we understand, the headline ship at IAE in November. So that's when we're going to see that. 2 new ground vehicle variants progress quickly down the pipeline. Not entirely sure what they'll be. One successfully passed a combined white box and grey box gate review, while the other is rapidly approaching its white box. So, the white box and grey box gate review, that vehicle sounds like it's coming quickly. If they're combining reviews like that, it sounds like it's something that they're trying to get out pretty damn quick. Or PDQ. So there we go. We also have 4 unannounced ships progress too. The first, a new fighter, passed its white box. A ship from a Xeon manufacturer designed to fulfill a generous role. I feel like I've covered this before. Or have I? Is this just because I looked at this? Or do I feel like we've kind of covered it. It was reading that bit that made me think the generalist role. I thought, oh, second generalist. And I was like, hang on, I've thought that before. Did we cover this 2 weeks ago? We can't have done it. It's only just come out, right? Maybe I just kind of read this and thought about talking about it on stream, and that's why I've got this. Am I going mad? Is that what's going on? Is this what early onset dementia feels like, do you think? I'm going nuts. I'm going slightly mad. So that's where we are with that. So there we go. So the third progressed to its Lord Zero, so that sounds like it's pretty close to going. The team added detail across the hull and ensured the animated parts don't interfere with each other. So lots of stuff changing to the outer part of the ship, I would guess. And the fourth has just gone through grey box. Following this, adjustments were made to its component and weapon locations. The mocap team is currently preparing to tackle the complementing animations required for this ship. Anyone want to hazard a guess at any of this? Because I'm really not sure. These are not things that I'm going, yeah, this is, I think I know what this is. Right, I'm going to stick some music on in the background. So bear with me. Stand by while I sort the levels out. There we go. Just thought it might mask a little bit of the fan noise, right? So there we go. We'll have some of that on in the background, and I can control the levels down here somewhere. Is that okay level-wise? Let me know. Stingray, yes, likely to be one of them for sure. Maybe that's the one. This one. I mean, it could be the fighter, but they said it was going to be bigger, didn't they? They said it was going to be a larger ship. So there we go. Yeah, very possibly. So there we go. And the Kraken is cracking on towards its grey box great review, with a focus on utilising the finalised Drake kit from the Ironclad. So there we go, there's that too. New large caliber weapon. I think, didn't I hear something about there being like a double-barreled shotgun? Some like large bore thing coming into the game? Or something like a Russian era bolt action rifle. That's the other one that I've had. So it's about to crack off. Yeah, exactly that. We'll talk about Castle for Christmas in a minute, because no. Just no. But we'll come back to that in a second. So, we'll skip past the community stuff. So what have we got in here then? Okay, so here we go. So this has already started. The core gameplay team shifted focus to a dedicated bug fixing push. Okay, including problems with hangar and freight elevator flow, quantum trouble, star map routing, and vehicles being falsely destroyed or flagged for claim. So this is good news. Okay, the Apocalypse Arms heavy machine gun receives support for magazines mounted to the Super Heavy Suit's backpack. This is the HMG stuff, right? Players can now load magazines into the backpack by hand even when it's worn by another player, and empty magazines now eject automatically. This work also prompted a smaller rework of explosion damage so that it spreads more evenly across body parts plus fixes for the ammo count display and magazines failing to eject correctly. So this sounds a little bit like Helldivers 2, when you can team basically do a weapon, right, and someone can reload as you're firing. Sounds a lot like that, because it says there, you know, players can now load magazines into the backpack by hand even when it's worn by another player. So as they're firing, empty ones eject and you can pop new ones in. Cue the era of like the heavy and the medic from Team Fortress 2. Sounds good. A lot of it's going to be like that, right? So, supporting the HMG also required changes to the melee system to handle different buttstock strike damage values, which fixed a bug where they weren't dealing damage at all. Separately, holographic previews for tractor-beamed items now use each item's attachable offset where available, making their appearance more accurate. Whatever the hell that means. But yes, that's good. And this is interesting as well, because item recovery seems to be being actively worked on. The team finished a basic version of the individual item claim mode and began work on the full version. Ship paints can now be bricked and recovered like other components. Fixes went in for brick ships that remained flyable after a full component swap, and for loadouts not being respected after a claim. Claim timer improvements also continued to cut down on unnecessary claims. Ships destroyed whilst inside a hangar can now be claimed for free. So that's good news. Marcus says, I just want to get my hands onto this old baby they talked about. The Firestorm cannon is a portable microwave personal cannon manufactured by Castac Arms. I think you might be waiting a little bit for that, mate. I hope they don't manage to introduce a bug where you can also take them out of another place. Oh, what? Where people just run around stealing magazines out the back of their suit? Yeah, that would be a bit silly. But then again, and here we go. For Starware, a new tool validates and repairs player and NPC loadouts, catching the setup errors that would otherwise break compatibility. The team also added clothing prerequisites for certain armors. For example, the Caldera Novikov suit may require a specific clothing item to be worn first. Work also began on Starware's UI, which took several iterations with UX design or user experience design to get right, given the complexity of the equipment rules. New addition included a block state that tells players when an item can't be equipped because another is in the way. It's beginning to look a little bit complicated, this, isn't it? It's one of, do you know what? As I read through all this sort of stuff, and as we kind of read through it and listen to some of the wording that they're using, it's really hard not to wonder all these things that they're adding. Anyone know? Any designers in here? Any programmers able to tell us? Is this just normal talk, or is this crazy complicated? Anyone know? Because it feels like some of this is just, they're adding prerequisites and they're adding this and they're adding that, and it kind of, as you read through, like all of it, that's all of it, right? So yeah. So one of the systems that I'm really kind of looking forward to is Starkitect. I'm really looking forward to seeing how that works. And they've basically updates to several core systems were made for Starkitect, which will fundamentally change how designers place locations and sandbox content across the planets. This is basically what you saw at CitizenCon 2024 with the circles and the numbers in the circles on a planet, showing how many locations were going to be placed by the system. And they were all going to be like along the same sort of theme, like outlaw-esque locations, mining locations, agricultural locations, settler locations, and they would all kind of, there would be almost like a sort of story that you could start to interpret finding these different locations. And, oh, this must be a fob for a distribution centre, so there must be a distribution centre nearby, or that sort of stuff. That's what this is. Harvestables and loot are context aware of their surrounding location and environment, so designers can match loot to the environment more easily. So, mining location, more mining stuff. Colony location, more food and drink, and medicine, and all that sort of good stuff. So, that kind of makes sense. This procedural shift also triggered a broader review of core gameplay systems. So the team rewrote how nav points are handled and access to ensure any system reading that data keeps working even when a location is fully streamed out. This will allow StarTech location to appear correctly on the star map, be routed to, show up in the quantum travel HUD, and support location inventories for freight elevators. So there we go. That's that. Command module, they're working pretty hard on that as far as I can understand. And then this. To support reworked Siege of Origin, core gameplay gave the designers a way to assign NPCs to defend specific areas, removing the need for complex spawn closet setups inside instances. In other words, at the moment they defend areas because of where they spawn and how they advance out of it, and then you get the impression that they're defending, whereas this is actually going to be them defending an area, which it'll be interesting to see if that actually feels different in the game or is just like, whatever. Fewer spawn closets, though, can't be a bad thing, right? The designers can now also set custom respawn locations. For example, sending a player to the nearest medical facilities after completing an objective, functioning as a checkpoint system. This is especially valuable for long-form content like Siege of Origin. That's interesting. My brain just went, well, yeah, but checkpoints and that, does this sound like a kind of simulator kind of game with depth and realism and immersion and all that sort of stuff? But then I remembered all the times that it was an absolute pain in the ass travelling back into the Siege of Origin area from the hospital outside. Yeah, I don't have a problem with this. But there we go. For transport, shuttles can now be gated behind mission logic, matching functionality already available in the legacy system. So, sounds like this will be transport can be started again once certain things have achieved. So yeah. For social and orgs, this is kind of important, chat was re-implemented with more robust customizable tabs. A new location-based channel lets players near a planet chat with other players in the vicinity, automatically switching channels, excuse me, as they switch between areas. The team also entered the discovery phase for a reworked Friends app. So that's a long way off from the sounds of it. Discovery phase for a reworked Friends app. So, yeah, interesting. Not entirely sure. Pre-production for a brand new creature family began with exploration around visual identity, silhouettes, combat legibility, and gameplay archetypes going through various rounds of iteration. So, like the Valakar, Juvenile, Adult, and Apex, sounds like there's a similar sort of family here. Economy, fine. Siege of Origin, great. Yeah. I don't know, I'm not seeing here much that's kind of standing out to me, if I'm being honest. I don't know. Let's start down here first. More work on Glass Clouds. Do you remember when Origin came out and they were like, yeah, we're gonna finish up with Gas Clouds? No, we're not. We're gonna keep going. Years and years and years later, and then Ground Fog as well. Ground Fog is cool. That looked awesome when we saw the pyro planets and all that sort of stuff. So Ground Fog looks incredible. There's that, and then is there anything that sits in here? The biggest area of active development was item recovery, the long-awaited feature that will allow players to reclaim items lost due to bugs or crashes. So, yeah. This includes how the game handles a player's full list of owned items and let them selectively recover what's missing. So it's not just a case of replace everything, you actually go after the stuff that you want. So, yeah. Other than that, there's not much really in that kind of section that's got my attention. And this is where really I'm let down by the fact that I don't have much of a programming background, right? Because I'm sat here going, all this extra stuff that they're adding in. They're adding all these, well, we add all this calls and it does this and it does that and blah 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 blah. And I'm sat here going, I don't know if this is like just normal developer speak and it sounds really confusing for the rest of us, or whether that's actually what's going on and they are overcomplicating it. I just don't know. Um, Anyone able to help out with that? Marcus says, as upset as I might or might not be, CIG has gone quite away and reached quite some. Has gone quite away and reached some milestones. One can accept it or not. Yeah, there's that. Normal dev talk, says Wiggy. Okay, fine. In that case, then great. Again, no idea about stuff like that because I'm not a programmer. So I'm just sat here going, it's not making much sense to me. But as long as it's making sense to someone, I suppose, that's the key important thing. Right, one more thing came out, and I think it might have been the end of last week, might have been the week before. But it's this. Squadron 42 newsletter. So apologies, I've opened it up in the email thing because I couldn't figure out another way to do it. But just meeting a couple of people within the kind of the UES Stanton, which is going to be the Idris that will be on for much of Squadron 42 Episode 1. So Petty Officer Eugene Morrow, Chief Engineer. As an engineer, I actually love working aboard a ship with as much history as the Stanton's got, and I'm absolutely champing at the bit to get back to it. Sure, she needs a bit of extra love now and then, but the craftsmanship of these Idris-class vessels are second to none. We've got Lieutenant Commander Aaron Cito, Flight Operator, I think that's Starman, Leading Starman Becca Farnway, Mechanic, Starman William Haynes, and Starman Connie Hayes, Engineer, Gunner, and Mechanic. Yeah, and it's just like, it's kind of like one of those recruitment things, right? You just get like a little bit of background or like a statement from them, like a press release. What I really love about this is on the front of this is so actually, this is so very much a military thing, right? This kind of duct tape on the front with someone writing his name on it in Sharpie. That's very much what we're expecting. But yeah, I think what's kind of interesting is even still we have launches 2026 at the bottom here. So that seems to still be the intent. Maybe it will be. Maybe it'll be Christmas release. Maybe that's what we're going after. Wait for people to get knocked off. GTA release is looking a bit knocked, isn't it, really? Looking a bit balked. No physical disc, and then content locked behind the Ultimate Edition when they're already charging $80 for the normal. And then multiplayer is going to be more on top. Not loving it. Yeah, that's kind of standard Wiggy, the no PC launching. We normally get it 18 months to 2 years afterwards. Something like that. So no shock there. Yeah. SE Kingdom, welcome in, bud. Good to see you, my friend. Yeah, it's not great. So that's where we are. I mean, that's it basically for Squadron 42 news. The other news again being the fact that they have invited content creators up to meet the developers in October to Manchester Goods Yard, Manchester, and try the game. Not expecting an invite. As I've said multiple times before, 3,800 subs, which is awesome, but it's not exactly featuring on their radar. And plus, video content has kind of dropped off a bit while, real life takes over and does its thing. So, as much of a shame as it is, I don't think that's going to happen for me. So there's that. Bit pants. But it is what it is. and that's okay. So yeah, that's where we are at the moment. That's what's going on in the realm of Star Citizen. That's a little bit of what's going on in my life. Everything else at the moment just seems a little bit painful with the game. I don't know what it is, but it's really kind of set things back. And so many things seem to be not working. I was talking to Jodomo and Jamlak earlier today, and they were doing one of the Vandal tech smuggler missions, and the first time round the loot didn't spawn in. The second time round, despite doing everything in the mission updating correctly, the card that the blade that they carried around with them to update the code, when they got there and popped it in, it then went no code detected. So they'd done all that and couldn't even get into the loot space. And it seems to be affecting so much all the way through each of the game loops that I get it. People are knocked. I'm knocked. I'm not playing it at the moment. But it is what it is. So yeah. I don't know. What I wonder at the moment is what is there at the moment to look forward to this year? Now, Squadron 42 would be my obvious answer to that, an immediate answer. But I am wondering if that's going to happen. Now, you'll remember in December of last year, I did the What's the Year Ahead Going to Bring kind of stream. And I said I thought they were going to bring Squadron 42 out. I'm still hoping that they are going to get it out this year. Right? Sometime this side of Christmas would be nice. Without that, though, I wonder what there is to keep luring people in. Because what's been really interesting is Star Citizen is a space game. But all the most fun things seem to be on foot. And that's interesting. I'm not sure it should be like that. But, you know. Yeah, that. Asher says, in all honesty, apart from Squadron, there's nothing. We did eventually get in the loot room and the elevator worked, but the one in the hangar to bring the loot up was broken. Shocker. I'm looking forward to next one, Galaxy suit lockers that work and a stable patch. Yeah, it's an interesting one. Look, and I'm going to say this now, right? So, serious talk for a second. Castra and Nyx, we need to talk about this. There was no point in me saying this at the time because it was just going to be copium and I was going to be accused of dodging. So this is why I'm going down that route. But I must admit, when I first said I didn't think Nyx was going to be coming in, I was operating on one very dodgy assumption. And that assumption was that it was going to be introduced like Pyro was. A complete system from the outset. I'd never considered that they would bring it in as Levski and then an asteroid belt and then just add to it as it goes on. And what's really kind of interesting for me is that we've had Nyx since the end of last year and they haven't added to it yet, other than the rock breaker sites and that sort of stuff. We haven't had a planet added. We're still waiting for 3. There's a gas giant and 2 planets. And nothing has been added. Now, if someone said, hey, Castra might be added this year, sure, there might be a space, there might be a system added, as in there's now another place to jump to, fine. But it's not going to have everything in it. There's just no way. And because they're still adding to Nyx, the question I have about Castra, here's the interesting thing. Why? What is it that we or CIG gain from Castra coming in? They haven't filled out Nyx yet, so there's lots more space in Nyx, and this is why everything is going into Nyx at the minute. This is why the municipal works, the instancing, the kind of phased instancing is going into Nyx, not Area 18 as we first thought, and as they first announced. So it's a little bit of an interesting one, because all they're doing is you're going to have a couple more servers brought online So for every shard in the game, we're adding more servers. For every shard worldwide, they're adding more servers. For what? It's not like we can't fit what we need into Nyx, Pyro, and Stanton right now. It's an unnecessary cost from my point of view. So whilst I know we've seen stuff about, they've been talking about Castra, there's been all that sort of stuff going out. What is the point until Nyx is fully fleshed out? I don't understand. I don't get it. So yeah. I think the release of Pyro was a system because of the delay in getting in Pyro. Agreed. But at that point, I hadn't really kind of talked about it, or thought about it, sorry. So I was just assuming, like, well, they're going to bring Nyx in, and then it was like, oh, okay, they're not bringing Nyx in. But I'm not going to say that to you guys, right? I'm going to go, well, hang on, no, that's not what I meant when I said no Nyx. There's no point. At that point, I just got to eat a sock, right? But for everything else, Castra now, I'm going to say no Castra, not because Castra's not going to come in, because if Castra does come in, it's going to be an empty shell of a system like Nyx still is. That's not Castra. Because I said this in kind of Discord. Okay, flip it around. If they turn around now and said Nyx is as it is, and we're not adding anything more to Nyx, you're not getting any planets, you're not getting the gas giant, that's it, Nyx is... People would immediately go, well, that's not Nyx. That's not Nyx. That's parts of it. You didn't give us Nyx. You gave us, like, 20% of what you promised. And that's what I mean about Castra. Is if they give us Castra, it's not going to have Cascom and everything in it. It's maybe one planet. And even then, it won't have much on it. It'll be Starkitect will come and add a bunch of that sort of stuff. So, I don't know. Because we haven't had anything since Nyx came in at the last year, we haven't had any planets added. Maybe they're waiting for Starkitect. But if they are waiting for Starkitect, why then rush everything out? Why rush to do Castra if you can't fill Nyx? It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I don't like it. Because it's just going to be increased costs to them, and that's money that could be doing other things. What are they doing? What do they get to say? Well, we've done one system a year. We've released one system every year. Great. But we all know 1.0 isn't going to come in a couple of years. What have they got left to add to the game? Castra and Terra, right? For 1.0? What's the point in rushing? Doesn't make sense. Castra is not UE based, should be a relatively high security thing. Yeah, but high security, until we get NPCs that are capable of coming out and dealing with stuff, high security doesn't mean squat. High security just means you're getting crime stat. Sergi gains the ability to say they've released one system a year, alongside the clues. This is the main reason I bring it in. But why? So what? What does that mean, one system a year? We had Pyro in 2020 going into 2025. We had Nyx at the end of 25 going into 2026. 2 years, 2 systems released. It's still the same thing. Next one looks to be the test case for the new planet tech that we rolled out to the other planets. They need that to work, so the PU looks like Squadron 42 in terms of detail, I reckon. Well, I hope so, Wiggy. Wouldn't that be nice? You get planets and areas as detailed as what Squadron 42 will look like. I mean, I'm all for that. I just don't understand the rush. If that's what happens, of course. So yeah, this is my issue with Castra, and to an extent Nyx. Who would have thought? I mean, we're into month 7 of this year, and there's still no news on any of the planets. None. Yeah. It's not floating my boat. It really isn't. Unfortunately. Not that it has to float my boat, but it isn't. Right. Let's have a look. Explore roadmap. Let's see. Have they got anything about planets in 4.1, 4.10, or 4.11? I wonder. No, nothing about locations of 4.10 and 4.11. There's nothing in there at the moment. There isn't a card for it. So yeah. Hey Jukester, welcome in, buddy. Good to see you. Next one will show us what Planet 6v5 and Star Architect are capable of if they manage to populate a planet with interesting locations. Yes, so that again, that's what Nix 1 does. So what does Castra do? Yeah. Hey, look, if they can start populating planets and stuff rapidly, but my understanding is that all of this is still being checked by humans, right? So if you've got 395 locations brought in one of the circles in Star Architect for a planet, 395 locations have to be checked by human eyes to whatever standard they need to do, right? I guess collision, making sure nothing's floating, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. It's going to be interesting. Hey, Rusty, good to see you, mate. Now, hopefully, a lot of that kind of gets sorted in the rules that they use to play stuff. But for anyone that's been paying attention to Star Citizen for any great length of time knows it's unlikely to be that simple. So there we are. I'm still waiting for Bounty Hunting V2, says Mad Teapot. Yeah, that too. Exactly that. So yeah, it's an interesting one. I don't know where they're going with it. And again, I'm not saying that they're saying that Castra's coming out. I know that's the scuttlebutt, but this is the issue that I have with it. This is why I'm really not sure that would be in CIG's best interest right now. I'm just not feeling it. Not that I have to. It's got nothing to do with me. But you get the point. So yeah. What does Castra do? With the front line for fighting the Vandal and fleet battles in particular, I think it will be end game battle content. Yes. Why does that need to happen now? We're unable to fight the Vandal. We got tactical strike groups. We're nowhere near end game content yet. So why does Castra need to be now? Why does Castra need to be rushed in at the end of the year? If that's what they're planning on doing. You see what I mean? So, yeah. I'm not sure. CIG are probably behind and trying to push it for Squadron 42 release to retain new players. Yeah, I mean that, and that's the worry, right? Is they're only now talking about new features, social features, the discovery phase for a Friends app. Or an updated Friends app in the Mobiglass so you can keep in contact with people. It's too little too late, really. If it's going to come out this year, which according to the email, it still says launches 2026 at the bottom. If that's what happens this year, they need social tools to be working in a much better state and with much more functionality. Friends lists need to work. You need to be able to scroll past the limit of players. Because at the moment, if you're on anything like a full shard, you can only go down so many letters in the alphabet in terms of player names before you can't scroll any further. So, yeah. It's a bit interesting, and I'm not entirely sure how I feel about it. Elevators need to work. Well, yes. The most deadly thing... the most deadly thing in Star Citizen, right? So yeah, that's where we all with all of that. And honestly, I don't know what else you kind of talk about at this stage because I'm not playing the game. stuff is desyncing around too much, missions not working, even finding loot and taking it back to a station and dumping it all into the station inventory and storing your ship correctly and all that sort of stuff and making sure everything's in the inventory and then logging back in and it's all gone. It's no longer in your ship, it's no longer in your backpack, and it's no longer in the station inventory. And it's like, well, normally playing after a wipe is good fun because you go get back all the kit that you were going to have before. Not so much at the moment. So yeah, it's been a bit of an interesting one. It's not filling me full of confidence. I'll just pop that in the background just for a little bit. But yeah, so I don't know. It's a shame because I want to be playing with tactical strike groups out. I want to be doing that, but the couple of times that we've run it, the pilot at the end, the NPC pilot that's supposed to escape, has either spazzed out and flew into a rock, or has just not bothered to try and escape very well and gets slaughtered by the Vandal while we're trying to cover him. So yeah, not sure. I'm hoping they fix it. I'm hoping that flying the ships around, these incredibly detailed ships, becomes the priority and not just, or becomes the main activity, the thing that you want to do, the thing that you enjoy and really engage with. At the moment, there's a chronic lack of information. There's ships showing completely fine until they explode. There's a lack of feedback as to what's going on. There's a lack of warning that systems are going down. There's all these things that could make that great, and at the moment they're not in. So yeah, working suit lockers with item insurance would be nice. I mean, yeah, sure. I don't like the idea of item insurance other than the stuff that we've bought ourselves because it removes all the risk. If you can just get it back. But yeah. I'm still not sure why they release Engineer without Maelstrom. Yeah, well, I mean, the Engineer for the component stuff makes sense to me. I get all that sort of stuff. But yeah. I'm hoping for the best. CIG will push the quick patches to get Star Citizen ready for Squadron 42 release. All hands on deck to fix the PU and get in enough content for new players and the endgame stuff. Look, I mean, if it happens, I'm not saying that it's not going to happen. I'm just saying that at the moment, there's not much in what's gone on. We had a good year last year, but with greater distance between patches, so double the time between patches this time round, things have taken a noticeable downward turn. And it's not just it was an oopsie, there was something in there that broke and people couldn't anticipate it before all the players got their hands on it. This was, they skipped Evocati, they pushed it through PTU because they had to get it out for DefenseCon because they needed to sell ships. And I'm kind of sick of that, to be honest. So yeah, I'm really hoping Squadron 42 will be the game that we all hope it's going to be. I hope it's an incredibly polished experience because it's had 2 years in polishing, or so we were told. You know, I hope they stop tinkering with it and just get it to a point where it's really fun to play. You know, stop going back and adding stuff, stop going back and tweaking this and that, and then I'm going to reshoot this and I'm going to reshoot that and I'm going to reshoot this. Just make it fun and get it out. And then switch people over to Star Citizen and really improve the gameplay. I don't think it's any coincidence that we are having the 2 best years off the back of last year with all that incredible game content, from Hathor to Stormbreaker to ASD and everything in between, right? You have that incredible progress. People are buying more stuff anyway, and then this year they're buoyed up off the back of last year. But it's just, they're bringing the money in. So just get on with it, COG. Just do it. Just do it. But there we go. COG have been stuffing features in and going to worry about it or fixing it in the final push. I hope that's the way anyway. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, we'll see. We shall see. But that's where we are at the moment with Star Citizen. It's going to be a bit of a gap in content for me. The next weekend that's so next Sunday, I have a friend coming to stay. So I will be away entertaining and going out and enjoying myself and all that sort of stuff. So it won't be happening that weekend. So that is the next weekend, is the weekend of the 12th. So likely I'll be back for the weekend of the 19th. So even the streams, I'm afraid, are going to get a little bit sporadic. But there we go. Yeah. I hear you, Widget. I know the reason for it. I think we need to remember that last year was done on a single code base. This year, they're pushing the game further. I hear you. I understand that from a logical perspective. It's just not fucking good enough. At the moment, that's how I feel about it at the moment. And I know later on I'll be back to saying exactly what you're saying there, which is give it time and all this sort of stuff. However, that doesn't make me enjoy it anymore. That doesn't mitigate the annoyances from the bugs. That doesn't mitigate that I sit down to play it and we start playing, and within a very short space of time, I'm sat there thinking I could have a lot more fun playing something else. So there's that, right? So yeah, there's the factual side of it, and then there's the kind of I am or I'm not enjoying it, and unfortunately that's just where I am at the moment. And generally, I'm at this point I'm probably going to take my own advice, which is sit back from playing it a bit. I still provide commentary. We'll still have a look at what's going on. There's still stuff that I want to achieve in the near future, but at the moment, it is what it is. So yeah, I'm not going anywhere. This isn't like me saying I'm not going to do this anymore and whatever else, or I don't want to play Star Citizen anymore. It's just I don't want to play it at the moment. That's all it is. This is not me announcing that I'm giving up with this stuff. It really isn't. I want Star Citizen to be the game that we all kind of know and hope it can be, and the reason that we've all been here. But for now, just at the moment, it's far more healthy, sensible, enjoyable, just all round more of an adult decision, I think, to take a sit back from the playing and then just provide you guys this commentary that I have at the moment. So there we go. This is why I thought. This is why last year I thought that stabilising the game before all the fundamental features were in was a mistake. The expectation everyone has is that it should be stable. Exactly that, Widget. And we all said at that point that I made the point myself multiple times. This game is going to break again. Stability is a bit of a unicorn, right? Is that the minute you put in some underlying system, things are going to break. Starkitect's going to do it. Maelstrom's going to do it. Quanta or Starsim or whatever the fuck it's called this week is going to do it. There's lots of things that are going to come in and break various back-end stuff. Dynamic server mesh, as Wiggy says, is going to come in and break stuff. The only thing insane that you can do in Star Citizen is, apart from have Star Citizen skins, thanks Dell, is to assume things will stay the same. So to assume that we'll always have an upward trajectory is mental. Because of course we won't. We're not there yet. This is what alphas do. You're putting in fundamental game systems that link in with other stuff, and it's going to break things. So there's all that going on. It's also called avoiding burnout. Exactly that. And it is tough. I'm feeling a little bit of that as far as this is concerned at the moment, but I'm talking about playing the game, not sit here chatting with you guys and gobbing off at you people. Yes, Panzer, friend. So yeah. So there we go. That's where we are at the minute. I'm not going to lie. On that note, I will probably, because I'm not sure what else to do. Like, again, I've had my rant. I've had my say about not liking Castra at this point in time for Star Citizen and not feeling like there's enough progress and all that sort of stuff. I'm not going to flog a dead horse. I'm not going to make you all sit here and listen to 40 minutes of me bitching about the game. It's not fair on you, not fair on me. And you and I both have better things to do than that. So likely I'm going to draw stumps here, and then I will look forward to seeing you guys in 2 weeks' time when I'm back, when my friend has headed home, and I've got a little bit more time. And hopefully by that stage my attitude towards the game will have changed. I'll have another couple of community nights with the boys on Friday, which you're welcome to join, by the way. Discord, link in the description below. Come and join in. All you've got to do is agree to the rules of the Discord server. You don't have to sign up to an org, anything like that. Just pop in 9 PM UK's on UK time on a Friday, and you can join us. You know, anytime from 9 PM you can come and join us, and all that is good fun. So yeah, thanks, Space. I appreciate it, guys. Yeah, that's going to be it from me this evening. I think I've whinged about the game enough. Hopefully, what we've seen in terms of 4.9 being more of a fix patch than a gameplay patch, not having to wait the full 2 months afterwards for Siege of Origin, will keep people happy that they have shifted focus to bring stability back, but they're not going to make us wait the full 2 months afterwards for Siege of Origin to follow on. So I'm hoping now that will give people enough of a kind of reassurance that things are moving in the right direction. For me, it's probably going to be waiting now until Siege of Origin comes along. I'll look at 4.9. If 4.9 brings in huge amounts of stability, then awesome. And of course, if they're going to release a new ship with 4.9, and there's no reason to believe that they won't, I'll be here to have a look at that as well. So it's going to be that. Thank you, Wiggy. I appreciate it, mate. Pivoted into doing game adjacent things over playing It's a Widget. Absolutely that. Every Friday unless it's extremely hot, which it has been last week, and it's looking like it will be next week. And I don't want the PC to melt through to the core of the earth, because that'll suck for everyone involved. So there we go. Breaks are good. Get some distance gives perspective. Exactly that, Panzer. So that's it. Thank you ever so much for being here. Thank you ever so much for bearing with me. Thank you for dealing with my game negative rants and all that sort of stuff. I appreciate it. I know we're all here because we enjoy the game, and or at least at this stage, we enjoy what we think the game will be when it starts to tick all those boxes for us. I'm still very much on side for all that as well. It's just at the moment, it's not particularly easy for me, and I know it's not easy for a lot of you guys as well. So thank you for bearing with me. You've been watching Drinkers with Game Problems. Thank you very much for stopping by. I'll see you soon.